My name is Sarah, and this is my story. It begins not with heartbreak, but with hope. Not with tears, but with laughter. I met him on a rainy afternoon in the most ordinary place, at a coffee shop on the corner of my street. I remember the sound of the rain hitting the glass, the smell of freshly brewed coffee, and the way he looked at me when our eyes met. It was a moment that seemed to freeze in time. He smiled first. A warm, easy smile that reached his eyes. I didn't know then that this man would become my everything. I didn't know that his smile would be the same smile I would later search for when I was drowning in sadness. We started with small conversations. Simple, everyday words. How do you take your coffee? Do you come here often? Nothing special, but to me, it felt like the beginning of something. Days turned into weeks, and soon I found myself waiting for those conversations. He wasn't just a man I met by chance. He became a habit, a comfort, a piece of my routine that I didn't want to let go of. When he finally asked me out, my heart said yes before my lips did. And so began the love story that I thought would last forever. He was gentle in the beginning. Thoughtful. He held doors open for me, sent good morning texts, remembered the little details of my life. If I mentioned a book I loved, he would surprise me with a copy. If I said I was tired, he would bring me tea and tell me to rest. I had never known love like this before. It felt safe. It felt real. Soon, we were inseparable. Dinners turned into long walks. Walks turned into late-night talks. Late-night talks turned into dreams about the future. He told me he wanted to build a life with me. He painted pictures of a home, a family, and a love that would stand against everything. And I believed him. I wanted to believe him. When he slipped a ring on my finger one quiet evening under the stars, I thought I was the luckiest woman alive. My heart was full. My future felt certain. I said yes, not just with my words, but with my soul. Our wedding was small but beautiful. I remember the way his hands trembled as he slid the ring onto mine. I remember the promise in his eyes. Forever, he whispered. And I believed him. Oh, how deeply I believed him. The early days of marriage were like a dream. We cooked together, laughed together, built our little world together. Every morning, I woke up with his arms around me, and every night, I fell asleep to the sound of his breathing beside me. I thought I had found the kind of love people spend their whole lives searching for. I thought he was my safe place. I thought he was mine. But here's the thing about love. Sometimes, the story you write in your heart doesn't match the story someone else is living. Sometimes, what feels eternal to you is only temporary to them. I didn't know then that our love, so bright and beautiful, carried shadows I could not yet see. I didn't know the man who held my hand so tightly would one day let it go for someone else. Looking back, I wonder if there were signs I ignored. Maybe I was blinded by love. Maybe I wanted the fairy tale so badly that I overlooked the cracks in the glass. But in that first chapter of our life, I was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy. I loved him with every part of me. He was not just my husband, he was my best friend, my confidant, my dream. And that's why the betrayal cut so deep later on. Because to lose someone you love is one thing. But to lose the person you trusted most in the world? That is a pain that words can barely touch. If you asked me then, in those early days, why do men cheat? I would have laughed. Not him, I would have said. Not my husband. He loves me too much. He promised me forever. But forever, I learned, is sometimes just a word. And love, when it's not rooted in truth, can wither faster than you ever imagine. Still, in the beginning, it was beautiful. And maybe that's the hardest part to remember. Because when the storm came later, I kept holding on to the memory of those sunny days. And that is where my story begins. With love. With trust. With the unshakable belief that we were meant to last. Little did I know that the same man who once made me feel like the only woman in the world would one day make me feel invisible. In the beginning, our love felt perfect. But slowly, almost quietly, things began to change. At first, I told myself it was nothing. He was working hard, I thought. He was tired, I thought. But the truth is, I felt him slipping away long before I admitted it. It started with the little things. He stopped texting me during the day like he used to. He no longer asked how my morning was or if I had eaten lunch. When I reached for his hand, sometimes he pulled away, pretending not to notice. I tried not to think too much of it. Every marriage goes through phases, right? People get busy. Life gets heavy. But deep inside, my heart knew something wasn't right. He started staying late at work. Or at least, that's what he said. The first time he came home after midnight, he smelled of cologne that wasn't his. A faint trace of perfume clung to his shirt. My stomach twisted, but I didn't say anything. I wanted to trust him. I wanted to believe the man I married was still the man he had promised to be. But trust can be heavy when it rests on shaky ground. One night, I tried to bring it up. "You've been distant lately," I whispered as we sat at the dinner table. "Is everything okay?" He didn't look at me. He just pushed the food around his plate and said, "I'm just stressed. Work is too much right now." His words should have comforted me, but his eyes told me another story. His eyes, they didn't meet mine like they used to. They didn't carry the warmth I once saw in them. They were guarded. Closed. Like a door I could no longer open. I remember lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering what I had done wrong. Was I not enough anymore? Did I stop being the woman he wanted? The silence between us grew louder than any argument could. We weren't fighting. We weren't shouting. But the quiet was crushing. A silence filled with things unsaid, truths hidden, and feelings buried. Then came the phone. He guarded it like it was treasure. Always face down, always locked, always out of my reach. If it buzzed, he'd quickly pick it up and walk away. Once, when I reached for it absent-mindedly, his reaction was sharp, too sharp. He snatched it from my hand, his face pale. "I just don't like people touching my phone," he said. But I knew better. It wasn't about the phone. It was about what the phone carried. Secrets. Conversations I wasn't meant to see. I told myself not to assume. Not to accuse without proof. But my heart was already breaking. The first cracks in our marriage weren't loud. They didn't come with explosions or screaming fights. They came quietly, like whispers in the dark. Like shadows stretching across the light. And though I tried to hold on, I could feel him slipping through my fingers. That was the beginning of the end, even if I wasn't ready to admit it. The night I found out the truth still feels like a wound that hasn't fully healed. It was a Friday. Funny how ordinary days can become unforgettable for the worst reasons. He told me he had to work late again. I nodded, forcing a smile, but my chest ached with suspicion. Something inside me told me not to ignore it this time. Something stronger than fear, stronger than denial. My heart whispered, "Look closer." So I did. When he left his jacket on the couch, I reached into the pocket. My hands trembled as I pulled out a folded receipt. My eyes scanned the words. A dinner for two. A bottle of wine. A restaurant we had never been to together. My vision blurred. My heart raced. A cold wave of truth washed over me. I waited that night. I sat in silence, staring at the clock, listening to the tick, tick, tick of time moving slower than ever. When he finally walked in past midnight, smelling a perfume that wasn't mine, I couldn't hold it anymore. "Where were you?" I asked, my voice quiet but shaking. He froze. His eyes darted away. "I told you. Work." "Don't lie to me," I whispered, tears burning my eyes. I held up the receipt with trembling fingers. Was she worth it? The room fell silent. The air was thick. For a moment, I hoped he would deny it, tell me I was wrong, hold me and promise it was all a misunderstanding. But instead, he closed his eyes and let out a long, broken sigh. And in that silence, I had my answer. The confrontation wasn't dramatic. No shouting. No broken dishes. Just two people standing in a room, with love on one side and betrayal on the other. He tried to speak. "It didn't mean anything," he said. "It was a mistake. I still love you." But every word felt like poison. Because if he loved me, why did he do it? If he loved me, why wasn't I enough? I couldn't even cry at first. The pain was too sharp, too deep. It felt like my heart had been torn open, leaving me hollow and empty. That night, I curled up on the bathroom floor, sobbing until my throat ached. I pressed my hands to my chest as if I could hold my heart together. But it was already broken. Shattered. The man who once promised me forever had given pieces of himself to someone else. And in that moment, I understood something I never wanted to know: betrayal doesn't just break your heart. It breaks your spirit. It makes you question who you are, what you're worth, and if love was ever real at all. That was the night I lost my trust. The night I lost the man I thought I knew. The night I began to understand that sometimes, love isn't enough to keep someone faithful. And it was only the beginning of the questions that would haunt me. After that night, my world stopped making sense. I woke up each morning with one question burning inside me: why? Why did he do it? Why wasn't I enough? Why did the man who promised me forever decide to share pieces of himself with someone else? The questions circled in my mind like vultures. No matter how much I tried to silence them, they came back, sharper each time. I stopped recognizing myself. In the mirror, I saw a woman with tired eyes, her smile gone, her spirit dimmed. I picked apart my reflection, searching for answers. Was I too plain? Too quiet? Too boring? Did I gain weight? Did I lose my charm? Every flaw, every wrinkle, every imperfection became proof in my mind that maybe I wasn't enough. I compared myself to the faceless woman I had never met. I imagined her prettier, funnier, more exciting than me. In my mind, she became everything I wasn't. And with each thought, I sank deeper into despair. At night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying our life like a broken film reel. The laughter we shared, the promises he made, the way he used to look at me. I asked myself over and over, when did I lose him? When did he stop loving me? The cruelest part was remembering how real it all once felt. Because how could a man who once held me like I was his whole world now turn to someone else? How does love disappear like that? I tried to ask him. I tried to look into his eyes and demand the truth. Why her? Why not me? I whispered one night, my voice trembling. He looked down, shame in his eyes. His words came out soft, almost rehearsed. I don't know. I was lonely. I was weak. It just happened. Lonely? Weak? Just happened? His answers were daggers. How could he be lonely when I was right there beside him? How could weakness excuse betrayal? Love doesn't just happen with someone else. It's chosen. Again and again. And he had chosen her, not me. The more he spoke, the more the questions multiplied. Was our marriage a lie? Did he ever really love me? Or was I just a convenience, a safe place until something better came along? Every time I looked at him, I saw a stranger. The man who once made me feel safe now made me feel small. The man who once lifted me up was now the reason I was broken. I began to doubt everything. Not just him, but myself. My worth. My value. My ability to love. It's strange how betrayal doesn't just take away your trust in someone else, it steals your trust in yourself. It makes you question your judgment, your choices, your entire sense of reality. I hated that. I hated how his choices had rewritten the story of who I was. Some days, anger kept me standing. I wanted to scream at him, to throw the pain back in his face. I wanted him to feel the same emptiness he had left inside me. But other days, I collapsed under the weight of sadness. I sat on the bathroom floor, holding myself like a child, whispering, "Why wasn't I enough?" And no matter how many times I asked, no answer ever came. The questions became ghosts that haunted every corner of my life. When I cooked, I wondered if he thought of her when he ate. When I dressed up, I wondered if he compared me to her. When he kissed me, I wondered if his lips remembered her. That's the cruelest part of betrayal. It turns love into doubt, intimacy into suspicion, and every memory into a wound. People say time heals everything. But in those days, time felt like an enemy. Each hour stretched endlessly, filled with questions, filled with pain. And yet, somewhere inside me, a small voice whispered, "This isn't your fault." I wanted to believe it. But when a man cheats, the woman he betrays is often left carrying questions that don't belong to her. Because the truth is, his betrayal said more about him than it ever did about me. But back then, I wasn't strong enough to see it. So I lived with the haunting. The endless whys. The sleepless nights. The mirror that reflected a stranger. It was a prison made of questions, and the only key to freedom would be realizing that some answers will never come. But I wasn't ready for that yet. I was still searching, still hoping, still bleeding from wounds I didn't know how to close. After the storm of discovery and the haunting silence of questions, came the part one dreaded most, his reasons. One evening, I gathered the courage to sit across from him at the kitchen table. My hands were cold, my chest tight, but I needed to hear it. I needed to know why the man I loved had betrayed me. "Tell me," I whispered, my voice breaking. "Why her? Why us? Why did you do it?" He looked away at first, his jaw clenched. Then he sighed, and with that sigh came words I would never forget. "I was lonely," he said. "You were always busy, always tired. I felt like I wasn't important anymore." His words cut through me like knives. I stared at him, stunned, because all I had ever done was give him everything I had. I sacrificed my time, my energy, my heart to make him feel loved. And yet here he was, saying it wasn't enough. "I didn't plan it," he continued. "It just happened. She listened to me. She made me feel wanted. I was weak. Wanted. Weak. Just happened." Each word slammed into me harder than the last. I wanted to scream, to tell him that love doesn't just happen outside of a marriage. That being weak doesn't give you permission to destroy someone's trust. But the words stuck in my throat. All I could do was cry silently as he spoke. He reached for my hand then, but I pulled away. His touch burned. His fingers no longer felt like love, they felt like lies. "I love you," he said desperately. "You have to believe that. I never stopped loving you." I shook my head. "If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. Love doesn't betray. Love doesn't lie." But he kept insisting. "It was a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you." And yet, every night he left, every lie he told, every secret he kept was a choice. Mistakes are accidents. What he did was deliberate. After that conversation, I carried his reasons with me like a heavy stone. I replayed them again and again in my head. Lonely. Wanted. Weak. Did that mean I hadn't been enough to make him feel whole? Did that mean another woman could give him something I couldn't? His reasons weren't answers. They were wounds. And each time I thought about them, the pain grew sharper. For days, I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I walked around like a ghost in my own home. He tried to comfort me, but his presence only made it worse. Every time I looked at him, I saw the betrayal. Every time he touched me, I felt the weight of his excuses. He wanted forgiveness. He wanted us to move on. But how do you forgive someone who breaks your heart and then tells you it was because they were lonely? His loneliness had become my punishment. His weakness had become my pain. I remember sitting on the edge of our bed one night, staring at the floor, thinking about the life we had built together. The laughter, the promises, the vows. And now, this. A stranger in my bed, pretending to be my husband. I wanted to believe him when he said he loved me. I wanted to believe that we could fix it. But deep inside, I knew something had changed forever. Because love without trust is just an empty word. And he had taken that trust and crushed it beneath his choices. Friends tried to comfort me. Some said, maybe he really was lonely. Maybe you should try to understand. Others said, once a cheater, always a cheater. Leave him before he breaks you again. Their voices only added to the noise in my head. But none of them understood the depth of my pain. None of them understood how it feels to look into the eyes of the man you love and see both the person who once made you happiest and the person who broke you the most. In quiet moments, I began to realize something important. His reasons were not reflections of me. They were reflections of him. It wasn't that I wasn't enough. It wasn't that I failed him. It was that he chose weakness over honesty, selfishness over loyalty. But knowing that didn't erase the pain. It didn't erase the nights I cried myself to sleep, the mornings I woke up with swollen eyes, the way my chest ached every time I heard his phone buzz. His reasons became scars etched into my heart. A constant reminder that the man I trusted most could justify breaking me. And maybe that was the hardest part of all, realizing that even after hearing his excuses, I was still the one left carrying the pain. After hearing his reasons, I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff. One step forward meant trying to heal, forgiving, staying. One step back meant letting go, breaking everything we had built, walking away. It was the hardest choice I had ever faced. He wanted to fix things. He said it again and again. We can get through this, he told me. We can start over. But how do you start over when your heart is shattered? How do you look at the same man and not see the lies, the betrayal, the other woman? I tried. God knows, I tried. I went to bed beside him, pretending to be asleep when tears slipped down my face. I smiled at him in public, pretending everything was fine. I cooked his meals, folded his clothes, listened to his words. But inside, I was breaking. Some days, anger gave me strength. I looked at him and thought, how dare you? How dare you destroy what we had? How dare you steal my peace? How dare you look at me with those same eyes and expect me to forget? Other days, sadness swallowed me whole. I thought about the woman he had been with. Did he laugh with her like he laughed with me? Did he hold her the same way he once held me? Did she know about me, or did he hide me from her too? Every answer hurt, no matter what it was. Family and friends began to notice. My mother held my hands one afternoon and whispered, "You don't look like yourself anymore." I forced a smile, but she saw through it. Mothers always do. A friend told me bluntly, "You deserve better. Don't waste your life on someone who doesn't value you." But another friend said, "Marriage is about forgiveness. Maybe if you give him another chance, things will get better." Their voices tangled in my head, but in the end, the decision had to be mine. No one else could live with the consequences. So I asked myself the hardest question, do I stay, or do I leave? Staying meant endless work. Counseling. Conversations. Learning how to rebuild something that already felt broken beyond repair. It meant waking up every day and choosing to forgive, even when forgiveness didn't feel possible. Leaving meant starting over. Facing the unknown. Walking away from the life we had built, from the memories, from the dreams. It meant grieving the man I thought he was and learning how to live without him. Both paths were painful. Both paths required strength I wasn't sure I had. One night, I sat alone in the dark, staring at the wedding photo on the wall. We looked so happy, so innocent. We had no idea of the storms ahead. I touched the glass and whispered, "What happened to us?" But the photo had no answers. And then it hit me, maybe the question wasn't what happened to us. Maybe the question was what happened to him. Because I had been faithful, I had been loyal, I had been present. The betrayal wasn't mine to carry. That realization gave me a small spark of strength. The next morning, I looked at him differently. Not as the man who once saved me, but as the man who had hurt me. Not as the only love I could ever have, but as a choice I could either keep making or finally let go of. He begged me to stay. He cried, he promised, he swore he would change. And a part of me wanted to believe him. A part of me wanted to cling to the memory of the man I married. But the bigger part of me, the broken, weary, tired part, knew I deserved more than broken promises. So I chose myself. It wasn't easy. It wasn't clean. It wasn't brave all at once. But step by step, I decided that my heart deserved healing, even if it meant breaking everything else. I packed some of my things. I told him I needed space. His tears fell, his voice shook, but I knew I couldn't save him without losing myself. Walking out that door felt like walking through fire. Every step hurt. Every memory begged me to turn back. But I kept moving, because deep inside, I knew staying would have destroyed me. Healing didn't come right away. Some mornings, I woke up and reached for him, forgetting he wasn't there. Some nights, I cried until sleep finally came. But slowly, very slowly, I started to breathe again. I began to rediscover myself. I read books I had once loved. I walked outside and felt the sun on my face. I met friends for coffee without pretending to be okay. Little by little, I remembered who I was before the pain. And with every step forward, I grew stronger. Breaking was hard. Healing was harder. But choosing myself, choosing to no longer carry the weight of his betrayal, was the bravest thing I had ever done. And though I didn't know it yet, this choice would lead me to the answer of the question that haunted me from the beginning. When I walked away from him, I thought the hardest part would be leaving. But I was wrong. The hardest part was facing the silence that followed. Silence in the mornings when I woke up alone. Silence in the evenings when no one came home. Silence in my heart where love used to live. For weeks, I carried the same question that had haunted me since the night I found out. Why? Why do men cheat? Why did he cheat? Why did he throw away what we had for something so fragile, so temporary? I searched for answers everywhere, books, articles, even late-night conversations with strangers online. But no one could give me the answer I craved. Because the truth was, there isn't just one reason. Some men cheat out of weakness. Some out of selfishness. Some because they are running from emptiness inside themselves. And some, simply because they can. But here's what I realized, his cheating had nothing to do with me. It wasn't because I wasn't beautiful enough. It wasn't because I wasn't kind enough, smart enough, or loving enough. It wasn't because I lacked anything at all. He cheated because of him. Because of his choices. Because of the cracks inside him that he never fixed. And once I understood that, I stopped blaming myself. There's something freeing about letting go of blame. For so long, I carried the weight of his betrayal as if it was mine. But it wasn't. The lies, the secrecy, the betrayal, they were his burdens, not mine. I remember standing in front of the mirror one morning, looking into my own eyes. For the first time in months, I whispered, "You are enough." And slowly, I began to believe it. Healing was not easy. Healing never is. But step by step, I reclaimed myself. I learned to laugh again, even if it started as small smiles. I learned to enjoy silence, not fear it. I learned that my worth was never tied to his loyalty. And most of all, I learned that heartbreak doesn't have to be the end. Sometimes, it's the beginning of a stronger, braver version of yourself. So, why do men cheat? I may never know all the reasons. But here is what I do know. Men cheat because they are human, flawed, imperfect, sometimes selfish. They cheat because they don't have the courage to face their emptiness in honest ways. They cheat because they take love for granted, forgetting how rare it is to find someone who truly gives their heart. But not all men cheat. Not all love ends in betrayal. There are men who are loyal, men who are faithful, men who understand the sacred weight of trust. And I hold on to that hope. As for me, I choose to rise from the pain. I choose not to let his choices define me. I choose to believe in love again, one day, with someone who deserves it. Because love is not the enemy. Betrayal is. And just because he broke me doesn't mean I'll stay broken. One evening, months after I left, I walked past the coffee shop where it all began. I stood outside for a moment, watching strangers laugh inside, hearing the hum of conversations, smelling the familiar scent of coffee beans. That place once held the beginning of our story. But now, it held something else, the reminder that life goes on, that endings can become beginnings, that healing is possible. I took a deep breath, stepped inside, and ordered a coffee for myself. No memories, no ghosts, no tears. Just me, learning how to live again. So, if you are listening to my story right now, and you too have been betrayed, let me tell you something. It is not your fault. You are enough. You are worthy of love, loyalty, and respect. His choices do not define your worth. His betrayal does not erase your beauty. And your future is not bound to your past. Why do men cheat? Maybe I'll never know the full answer. But I know this, when they do, they lose something they may never find again. They lose the woman who gave them her heart. They lose the trust that cannot be rebuilt. They lose the chance at a love that was pure and real. And me? I may have lost him. But I found myself. And that, in the end, is the greatest victory of all. Thank you for watching this emotional love story on the Love Chapter by Aree. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more heart-touching stories. Tell us in the comments which country or place you are watching from. We'd love to know where our family of viewers is growing around the world.